If you're watching this alone, you might want to turn a light on. I'm serious, because this story started exactly like that, quiet, late at night, nothing weird at first. The guy who shared this story said he worked late shifts and usually got home around midnight. One night, he's standing in his kitchen, half asleep, scrolling on his phone. The only light on is the one above the sink. Everything feels normal. Oh, normal. That's when he notices his shadow on the wall. At first, he doesn't think much of it. You move. Your shadow moves. Basic stuff. But then he shifts his weight. And the shadow doesn't. It stays still. He freezes. Tries to laugh it off. Maybe the light flickered. Maybe he's just tired. So he lifts his hand slowly. His hand goes up. The shadow's hand doesn't. Instead, it twitches like it's catching up. Like it's lagging behind real life by half a second. That's when his stomach drops. He waves both arms. The shadow copies him. But wrong. Movements are delayed. Bent at weird angles. Like it's trying to remember how a human moves. He backs away from the wall. Heart pounding, telling himself he's overreacting. But as he steps back, the shadow steps forward. Toward him. He reaches for the light switch and flips it off. Darkness. Total darkness.
He exhales, relieved for just a second.
Until he realizes something is still there. Because even with the lights off, the shadow is still on the wall. No light source. No explanation. Just this darker than dark shape, stretched unnaturally, like it's peeling itself away from the surface. Then it moves again. This time, it doesn't copy him at all. It tilts its head. He runs straight to his bedroom, slams the door, locks it, turns every light on. He spends the rest of the night sitting on his bed, staring at the walls, waiting for sunrise, like his life depends on it. The next morning, he convinces himself it was stress, lack of sleep. His brain messing with him. Until that night. He's brushing his teeth, bathroom light on, mirror fogged up, and behind his reflection, on the wall, that shadow is back. But this time, it's already smiling. And here's the part that really messes people up. He moved out 2 weeks later. New apartment, new city, clean slate. First night in the new place. He turns off the bedroom light, and in the darkness, something moves on the wall. So, yeah. Drop a comment if you'd move out immediately, because I would. Your phone buzzes at 3:17 a.m. And the sender died last year. That's not a maybe it's spam moment. That's the kind of notification that instantly wakes you up, heart racing, staring at your screen like it might bite you. This story comes from a series of screenshots. People shared online screenshots so unsettling that moderators kept deleting them, thinking they were fake. But the timestamps, the numbers, the details, they all lined up a little too perfectly. The person who shared this said the number belonged to his best friend, Mark. Mark had died in a car accident the year before. Close-in casket, funeral, burial, everything. The phone number was still saved in his contacts because, honestly, deleting it felt wrong. Like admitting Mark was really gone. Life forbidden. Or at least it tried to. Then one night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., his phone buzzed on the nightstand. One notification. Mark, you awake? At first, he laughed. Nervous, shaky laugh. Probably a delayed message. Some weird system glitch. That happens, right? Except the message timestamp was current. Not a year late. Not pending. Just now. He didn't reply. He locked the phone and tried to sleep. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. Mark, why aren't you answering me? That's when the panic set in. His chest felt tight, like the air got heavier in the room. He checked the number. Same one. Same contact photo. Same name. No new SIM. No spoofed ID. Least nothing obvious. He typed back one word. Who is this? The response came instantly. Mark, wow. Real funny.
He sat up in bed.
Cold sweat. He hadn't told anyone about Mark's private jokes. The way he texted, the sarcasm, but the messages sounded exactly like him. Same tone. Same punctuation. Same habit of double texting when annoyed. The next night, the texts continued. Mark, I hate it here. Mark, it's so quiet. Mark, they won't stop staring. That's when he stopped responding altogether. He turned his phone off before bed. Problem solved. Or so he thought. Because when he turned the phone back on the next morning, there were missed messages waiting. Mark, you can't ignore me forever. Mark, you're the only one who can hear me. After that, things got worse. The messages started referencing real-time events. Things happening in the apartment.
The sound of his upstairs neighbor. The rain hitting the window.
Even the fact that he'd left the bathroom light on, the funeral came back into his mind. How the priest had mentioned unfinished conversations. How the casket stayed closed. 3 nights later, at 3:17 a.m. on the dot, his phone buzzed again. One message. Mark, I'm standing behind you. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. His body locked up like prey. He stared at the black phone screen, reflecting just enough to show the room behind him. The dark doorway. The closet. The empty space. Another buzz.
Mark, why won't you look at me?
He screamed, jumped out of bed, and ran straight out of the apartment. Didn't grab keys. Didn't grab shoes. Slept in his car until sunrise. He changed his number the next day. Deleted the contact. Wiped the phone. But here's the last thing he shared before deleting his post. The screenshots never disappeared from his cloud backup. And sometimes the phone still buzzes at 3:17 a.m. So yeah, check your phone before sleeping. Just say, there's a reason this hotel room is always empty. If you've ever gone down a late-night rabbit hole of travel forums and hotel review sites, you've probably seen posts that feel off. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just quiet warnings. This story started with one of those posts. A single comment buried deep in a thread about budget hotels in the Midwest. No emojis, no exaggeration, just a sentence that read, "Whatever you do, don't accept room 428. At first, people laughed it off. Probably a bad mattress, maybe a leaky pipe. But more comments followed. Different usernames, different years. Same message. Room 428 is always empty, even when the hotel is fully booked. Even during convention, even during holidays. One traveler decided to ask the front desk directly. The clerk hesitated. Not the kind of pause you use to check a computer.
The kind you use when you're deciding how much truth to tell a stranger.
Then she smiled and said, "That room isn't available tonight. It never was. Eventually, someone got it by accident. A last-minute booking. Third-party app glitch. No other rooms left." The key card worked. The door opened. At first, it seemed normal. Too normal. Clean bed. Fresh towels. That faint hotel soap smell. The bathroom mirror was spotless, almost polished to the point it reflected light strangely. The guests thought nothing of it until around 2:30 a.m. That's when the crying started. Soft at first, like someone trying not to be heard, coming from the bathroom. The guests sat up in bed, heart racing, listening. The sound wasn't coming from behind the door.
It was coming from the mirror itself. Muffled, distorted, like it was trapped inside the glass.
He opened the bathroom door. The crying stopped.
The mirror fogged instantly, even though there was no steam, no running water.
Then a single handprint appeared on the glass from the inside. He stumbled backward, slammed the door, and spent the rest of the night awake with the lights on. At checkout, pale and shaking, he told the front desk what he heard. The clerk didn't look surprised. She asked one question. "Did you see her face?" That's when things unraveled. Over time, more stories surfaced. Guests hearing sobbing, whispers begging to be let out. Some claimed they saw a woman's face in the mirror, mouth open like she was screaming underwater. Every story ended the same way. One night only. No one ever stayed twice. And here's where it gets worse. A former housekeeper finally spoke out online. Anonymous post. Burner account. She said staff were told never to clean room 428. Not the bathroom. Not the mirror, nothing. The room was sealed, unless absolutely necessary. Years earlier, a woman had locked herself in that bathroom during a long stay. No one knows why. No one heard anything until it was too late. When staff finally broke the door down,
The mirror was cracked from the inside.
after that, every cleaner who entered quit within a week. So the hotel stopped sending them in. They still changed the sheets, replaced towels, but that bathroom, untouched. The mirror, never wiped. That's why the room stays empty. Not because it's broken. Not because it's unsafe. Because whatever is trapped in that mirror doesn't like being disturbed. And sometimes When the hallway is quiet, guests swear they hear crying echoing through the vents coming from a room that isn't occupied. So let me ask you this. Would you stay one night for $10,000? This baby monitor picked up something that wasn't a baby. The couple who shared this story said they were finally starting to feel human again. New parents. Sleepless nights. Cold coffee. The usual chaos. Their daughter was 6 months old, and for the first time in weeks, she'd fallen asleep easily, no crying. No fussing. Just soft breathing through the baby monitor sitting on the nightstand. The room was quiet, peaceful. The kind of silence parents learn to appreciate because it never lasts.
They were halfway through a show when the monitor crackled.
At first, it sounded normal. Static. White noise. The faint rustle of a sleeping baby shifting in her crib. The mother smiled and turned the volume down slightly. Everything was fine. Then a voice came through. Not a cry. Oh! Not a
Go.
a whisper.
Soft. Slow.
Almost
Careful.
hello. They froze. Both of them. The father muted the TV. The whisper came again, clearer this time, like it was leaning right up against the microphone. Can you hear me? Their first thought was,
Interference. Another monitor on the same frequency. A neighbor.
that happens! Right! Except the voice wasn't random. It wasn't talking over the sounds of the nursery. It was coming from inside it. The mother grabbed the monitor and spoke into it, half laughing, trying to stay calm. Who is this? There was a pause, long enough to make their skin crawl. Then the whisper answered, She's sleeping! The father stood up immediately. No hesitation. He walked down the hall, every light on, heart pounding louder with each step. The nursery door was closed, just like they'd left it. He opened it slowly. Their daughter was asleep. Peaceful. No one else in the room. From the bedroom, the mother watched the monitor screen. The camera angle didn't change. No movement. But the audio picked up breathing. Not the babies. Slower. Deeper. Then the whisper returned. Don't wake her.
The father backed out of the room, shutting the door gently, hands shaking.
They locked the nursery and brought the baby monitor into the living room. No more jokes, no more explanations. The whispers didn't stop. They started answering questions. Is she alone?
Yes.
The mother whispered, without thinking. A pause.
No. The voice replied. They unplugged the monitor. Silence. For a while. At 2:14 a.m., their phone buzzed with a notification. Baby monitor! Sound detected they hadn't plugged it back in. The audio played automatically. Soft humming. A tune neither of them recognized. The same slow breathing. Then a whisper, closer than before. She likes when I sing. The mother began to cry. The father grabbed the car keys, ready to leave, when the final sound came through. A voice trying to say their daughter's name, but saying it wrong. Not mispronounced. Almost right. Like someone repeating it from memory. Like someone who had heard it, but never learned it. Lee. Anna. Their daughter's name was Leela.
They didn't stay in the house that night. Or ever again.
The monitor was thrown away. The nursery left untouched. Months later, when they told the story online, one comment stood out. Those things can't take what they can't name. Parents, this one's for you. Every night at 2 a.m., she was there. At first, it felt like a bad sleep schedule. That's what the guy told himself. New apartment, new job, too much caffeine, not enough rest. The kind of stuff that messes with your dreams.
But the problem wasn't the nightmares.
It was the fact that he was awake when it happened. Fully awake. Eyes open. Clock glowing on the nightstand. 2 a.m. every time. The first night, he woke up and couldn't move. Classic sleep paralysis. He knew what it was. He'd read about it before. Your brain wakes up, your body doesn't. Panic sets in. Hallucinations happen! Totally explainable. Then he saw her, standing in the far corner of the room,
Where the ceiling light never quite reached.
a tall shape, thin, still. He couldn't make out her face. Just the outline of long hair hanging forward like it was hiding something. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. She just stood there, watching. After a few seconds, or maybe minutes, body unlocked, he shot upright, heart hammering, sweat soaking the sheets. The corner was empty. He laughed it off. Sleep paralysis demon. Case closed. Until the next night, 2 a.m. Same pressure on his chest. Same inability to move. Same corner. She was closer. This time, he could see more detail. A pale arm hanging unnaturally long. Fingers slightly bent, like they'd been broken and never healed right. Her head tilted just enough to feel intentional, like she knew he was looking. Night after night, she returned, always at 2 a.m., always closer. He started sleeping with the lights on. Didn't matter. She was still there. The light didn't touch her. It was like the darkness bent around her shape. He told himself it was still sleep paralysis. Stress. Anxiety. His brain playing tricks on him. Then she moved. Not during paralysis. Not in the dream state. He woke up one night before 2 a.m. Sat up, checked the clock. 1:58. He watched the corner. At exactly 2 o'clock, the air shifted. The room felt heavier. And slowly, smoothly, she stepped forward.
He screamed. Jumped out of bed. The lights snapped on.
Was gone. That's when fear turned into something worse. Because if this was sleep paralysis, she shouldn't have appeared while he was fully awake. He stopped sleeping altogether. Coffee, energy drinks, anything to stay conscious. But exhaustion always wins. And she always came back. Desperate, he invited friends over to crash on the couch. Strength in numbers, right? The first night, nothing happened. No 2 a.m. visit. He finally slept. The second night, one of his friends woke him up, shaking him hard.
Dude,
He whispered.
Who's the woman standing in your room? His blood went cold.
the friend described her perfectly. The corner. The hair.
The way she didn't move, just stared. They left before sunrise. After that, it escalated fast. Scratches on the wall near the corner. Footprints in the dust. And one night, written faintly on the mirror, like someone traced letters with a finger. Still awake, he moved out a week later. New place, new bed, new everything. The second night, he woke up at 1:59 a.m. There was no corner in the new bedroom. She stood at the foot of the bed. Sleeper releases or something worse. Security footage never lies, right?
That's what the homeowner kept telling himself as he scrolled through the clips on his phone.
He'd installed the security system after moving into a quiet suburban house. Nothing fancy. Just a door cam and a couple of indoor cameras facing the hallway and living room. More for peace of mind than fear. The neighborhood was safe. Boarding. Even. That's why the first alert didn't make sense. The app notified him at 1:42 a.m. motion detected front door. He checked the live feed immediately. The porch was empty. No cars. No people. No animal. Custido closed. Still, the next morning, curiosity got the better of him. He opened the recorded clip. The footage started normally. Night vision, grainy green glow, crickets in the background. Then the door handle turned. Slowly, deliberately, the door opened. Footsteps followed. Heavy, measured. You could hear them clearly as they crossed the threshold, but there was no one there, nobody, no shadow, just the sound of boots stepping into the house, the door swinging wider as if someone held it open. The clip ended right as the hallway camera activated. That footage was worse. The hallway cam showed the door opening from the inside angle. The light from outside spilling across the floor. Footsteps moved forward, stopping right in front of the camera. You could see the carpet depress with each step, like invisible feet, walking toward it. Then the camera shook. Not like a glitch, like something brushed past it. He replayed the clips over and over, zooming in, slowing them down. No signs of tampering. No distortion. No editing. Just empty space doing things empty space shouldn't do. That night, he didn't sleep much. Every creak of the house sounded louder. He kept the app open, phone in and watching the live feeds like a lifeline. At 2:30 a.m., the living room camera triggered. This one faced the couch and coffee table. The footage showed nothing at first. Then the cushions sank slightly, as if someone sat down. The coffee table shifted a few inches. Something invisible crossed the room, stopped near the camera, and stood there. The audio picked up breathing. Slow, wet, right against the microphone. He locked himself in his bedroom and called a friend, whispering like it might hear him through the walls. The friend told him to leave. Go anywhere. Don't stay there another second. He grabbed his keys and opened the app one last time. The bedroom camera was on. He never activated that one. He disabled it weeks ago because it felt invasive. But there it was, streaming live footage of his room. The empty bed, the closed door. Then the camera angle shifted. Not electronically, physically. Like someone grabbed it.
The feed tilted downward, toward the bed.
Toward the doorway where he was standing in real life, phone shaking in his hand. A notification popped up. Camera activated manually. He ran. He didn't go back for days. When he finally returned with friends, nothing was out of place. No forced entry, no damage. The system showed no errors, no intrusion, but every clip was still there, including one last recording he had in Desen beef time-stamped 1:41 a.m. It showed the hallway, empty, silent. Then a shape leaned into the frame, just enough to trigger motion detection. No face. No body. Just the sound of a whisper. I see you watching. So tell me, would you check the footage again? What if your house whispered your name? That was the thought that kept running through his head after he moved in. New house, new city, fresh start. That's what he wanted. The place was older but well kept, tucked into a quiet neighborhood where nothing ever seemed to happen. No loud neighbors. No traffic noise. No chaos. Just silence. At first, the silence felt peaceful, like the house was letting him breathe. The first night passed without incident. Same with the second. He started to relax. Maybe this was exactly what he needed. Then, on the third night, he heard it. He was lying in bed, scrolling through his phone, the room dark, except for the glow of the screen. The house was quiet in that way. Old houses get late at night. No creaks, no pipes, no wind. That's when a sound slipped through the silence. A whisper. So soft, he almost missed it. At first, he thought it was the TV from a neighbor's place, or maybe his phone playing something in the background. He muted everything.
The whisper came again.
His name. Clear, slow, drawn out like someone tasting it. He sat up, heart pounding, and listened. Nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator down the hall. He laughed nervously, blaming stress, exhaustion, imagination. Old houses make noise. That's normal. Except this wasn't noise. It happened again the next night. Same time. Same voice. Same whispering tone. Like it didn't want anyone else to hear. His name drifted from the walls themselves, moving from room to room. Kitchen. Hallway. Bedroom. Always when he was alone. He tested it. Invited friends over. Laughter filled the house.
Music played. Nothing strange happened. No whispers.
No voices. As soon as they left, the silence returned.
And so did the voice. He started responding. Quietly at first. Hello, who's there? The house answered. Not with words. Just his name. Again. Louder this time. Closer.
He stopped responding after that.
Slept with headphones on. Left lights burning. Stayed out late. But the house was patient. It waited. Late one night, when he came home exhausted, he forgot the headphones. As I lied down,
He heard it from inside the walls near his head.
"Come here."
That was new.
He bolted upright, flipped on every light, searched every room. Nothing. No one. Doors locked. Windows sealed. The next day, he asked his neighbors if they'd ever heard strange noises, whispers, voices, anything. They looked at him like he was crazy. One neighbor laughed and said the house had been empty for years before he bought it. "No one's lived there long," she added. "People never stay." That night, he recorded audio on his phone and left it running while he went to the store.
When he played it back later, the recording was mostly silence. Mostly. At 2:26 a.m., the whisper started. His name. Repeated over and over.
Faster each time. Like the house was practicing, learning how to say it right. He took the recording to a friend, played it for him. The friend shook his head. "Man, I don't hear anything." But he did, clear as day. The final night, he stood in the hallway and whispered back, "What do you want?"
The answer came from every wall at once.
"Stay." He moved out the next morning. Didn't pack properly. Didn't say goodbye. Just left. The house is still there. Still quiet. Still waiting. And that's why I don't trust quiet houses. Visiting a haunted place is one thing. Bringing it home is worst. That's something every urban explorer learns eventually. Usually the hard way. The guy who shared this story had been exploring abandoned buildings for years-old hospitals, factories, forgotten houses. He didn't believe in ghosts. Not really.
To him, haunted just meant empty, decaying, and off-limits.
That night, he and two friends decided to explore an abandoned asylum on the edge of town. The kind of place locals warned people about, but never explained why.
The building was massive. Peeling paint, broken windows,
Long hallways that swallowed sound.
They joked their way through it, filming on their phones, laughing a little too loud, daring each other to go deeper. At one point, they heard footsteps echoing down a hallway above them. Heavy, slow. But when they checked, there was no one there. They laughed it off. Old buildings settle. Sound travels weird. No big deal.
Before leaving, he did something he did regret later.
He mocked the place, said something like, "If there's anything here, follow me home." Just a joke. Just words. His friends told him to shut up, but he laughed and kept walking.
The real nightmare didn't start until he got home. The first sign was subtle.
I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of footsteps outside his bedroom door. Slow, dragging, the same rhythm they'd heard in the asylum. He froze, listening.
The steps stopped right outside the door.
Then, nothing. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same pace. This time, the footsteps moved down the hallway, then back again, like someone pacing. He opened the door, empty hallway. He told himself it was stress, adrenaline hangover, his brain replaying sounds from the trip. Except the sounds didn't stay in his head. Objects started moving. Chairs slightly out of place. Cabinet doors left open.
Muddy footprints appeared on the kitchen floor, footprints that didn't match his shoes.
Things escalated fast. One night, while brushing his teeth, he heard breathing behind him. Slow and close. He didn't turn around.
The mirror fogged slightly, even though the water was cold.
On the glass, words slowly appeared, traced like a finger dragging through steam.
You said I could come. He slept on a friend's couch after that. But even there, the footsteps followed. Same sound, same weights, same pattern. His friend heard them too and swore never to let him stay again. Desperate, he went back to the asylum during the day. He stood in the entrance and apologized out loud.
Felt ridiculous doing it, but fear beats pride every time.
Aside, dinti. Mean any disrespect.
Said whatever followed him wasn't welcome anymore. That night, the footsteps stopped. For a while.
Weeks later, he moved to a new apartment across town. Fresh start. New locks. New routine. For the first few nights, everything was quiet. He started to believe it was over. Then, just after midnight, he heard it again. Footsteps. Not in the hallway, inside his bedroom. Slow, dragging, exactly like before. He lay frozen as the sound moved closer to his bed. The floorboards creaked under invisible weight. The sound stopped right beside him. He felt the mattress dip, like someone sitting down right next to him. He never explored abandoned places again. Never joked about ghosts. Never dared anything he couldn't take back. Because some places aren't empty. And you should never disrespect haunted places. I was home alone.
Or so I thought.
It started like any other evening. He had just gotten home from work, tossed his bag on the couch, and settled in with a beer. The house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of settling floorboards. Nothing unusual. Just an ordinary Tuesday. He flicked on the TV, scrolling through channels, and made a mental note to do laundry later. Simple, mundane, uneventful. That's when his phone rang.
A number he didn't recognize flashed across the screen.
Normally, he'd ignore unknown numbers, but something about this one felt different.
I swear. Hello, he said casually, expecting a telemarketer or wrong number. No response. Just silence. A faint static hum in the background, like a distant radio. He shrugged it off and hung up, assuming a missed dial. Then, just as he settled back on the couch, he heard it. A voice calling his name. Not through the phone.
Through the house. Jake. It was coming from upstairs.
Clear, deliberate. His heart skipped a beat. He lives alone. Always has. No roommates. No family nearby. Just him and the empty rooms above. He froze, listening. Jake.
The voice was soft, almost coaxing, but there was something in the tone that made his skin crawl.
Slow, measured, deliberate. It was coming from the stairs. He grabbed a flashlight,
his hands shaking slightly, and slowly crept toward the staircase. Nothing. No one. Just the faint hum of the house settling.
He called out, "Hello! Who's there?" No response. Only the echo of his own voice bouncing off the walls.
He forced himself to laugh nervously, blaming fatigue, or maybe too much late-night horror browsing.
He returned to the living room, shaking his head, and tried to calm down.
But the feeling didn't leave.
The hair on the back of his neck stayed rigid. Then the phone rang again. Same unknown number.
Hesitation gripped him, but curiosity won. He answered, "Hello."
This time, a distorted, whispery voice answered. Not angry, not pleading, just familiar.
Jake. He froze. It was his own voice.
What the hell? Mother,
The caller hung up immediately.
He stared at the screen.
The caller ID. His own number. Panic set in. Heart pounding. He dialed his own number from a different phone.
It rang. Once, twice, then stopped. Silence. But the faint sound of breathing echoed over the line. His breathing. His own.
He rushed upstairs, convinced someone had broken in. Every door he checked was locked, every window shut. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, only the uneasy feeling that someone or something was upstairs, waiting.
He ran back down, grabbed his coat, and decided to leave the house entirely, just for a few minutes, to clear his head.
But as he reached the door, he heard it again.
Jake. Soft. Low. Coming from the staircase. Not through the phone.
Not a recording. Real. Alive. He didn't wait. He bolted out the front door, calling a friend to come pick him up. His house sat in silence behind him. Nothing moving, nothing visible. He couldn't explain it. Couldn't rationalize it.
Later, when he checked his phone, there were missed calls. Multiple. All from his own number.
Time-stamped exactly when the voice had called from upstairs.
He still lives alone.
He still checks locks, checks doors, checks every corner before going to bed. But sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet, he swears he hears it. Jake. This one messed him up. Have you ever seen your reflection move first? It sounds ridiculous until it happens to you. This story started late at night. The kind of night where everything feels slightly off for no real reason. He had just gotten home and headed straight to the bathroom, flipping on the light while his eyes adjusted.
The mirror above the sink was fogged around the edges from an earlier shower.
The room quiet except for the low buzz of the fluorescent bulb. He leaned on the sink, staring at his own tired face. Nothing unusual. Same reflection. Same movements. He brushed his teeth, rinsed his mouth, and sighed, watching the reflection mimic him perfectly. Until it didn't he? As he lowered his toothbrush, his reflection smiled. Not a full grin, just a small, slow curl of the lips. Subtle, intentional. He hadn't smiled. His stomach dropped. He froze, eyes locked on the mirror.
The reflection held the smile, eyes unblinking.
It wasn't exaggerated or monstrous. that somehow made it worse. It looked exactly like him, same face. Same wrong. He lifted his hand.
The reflection lifted its hand, too. Normal. Perfectly synced. The smile stayed.
He whispered, "What the hell?" The reflection's mouth moved. No sound came out. He stepped back, heart pounding, convincing himself it was stress or exhaustion. Mirrors mess with depth perception.
Low light plays tricks.
He reached up and flicked the light off, plunging the bathroom into darkness.
For a moment, everything was quiet. Then he flicked the light back on.
The reflection was closer. Not physically closer in the room, but closer to the glass, like it had leaned forward while he was in the dark. Its smile was wider now. Teeth showing.
He stumbled backward, bumping into the doorframe. The reflection didn't stumble.
It stayed steady, watching. He turned away from the mirror, pressing his back against the wall, counting under his breath. 3 seconds. 5. 10. This was stupid. He was scaring himself. When he turned back, the reflection was still smiling. He tested it again, turned his head sharply to the side. The reflection didn't. It kept looking straight ahead.
The smile remained. His pulse roared in his ears.
He reached out slowly and touched the mirror with one finger. Cold glass. Solid. Real. The reflection raised its finger, too, but its timing was off. Just a fraction of a second late. Like it was following a script it didn't fully understand. He backed out of the bathroom and shut the door, breathing hard. He didn't sleep that night. He stayed on the couch, lights on, bathroom door closed. In the morning, everything seemed normal.
No smiling reflection. No delay. Just him.
He almost convinced himself it was a dream. Almost. That night, he avoided the bathroom mirror entirely. Brushed his teeth without looking. Kept his eyes down.
When he finally glanced up by accident, the reflection stared back blankly.
No smile. Relief washed over him. Then he turned away.
From behind him, in the mirror, the smile returned.
He saw it reflected in the hallway mirror across from the bathroom, his reflection grinning behind his turned back, eyes locked onto him.
He moved out 2 days later.
Covet every mirror in the house with sheet. Avoided reflective surfaces like windows at night. Sometimes, though, when he catches his reflection in a dark screen or a window after sunset,
He swears he sees it just for a split second. That smile.
Mirrors at night are a no-go. They found this audio in the basement. No one remembers recording it. It started with a dusty old box in the corner of the basement. He and his family had just bought the house, an early 1900s Victorian with more character than modern charm. The basement smelled of mildew and old wood, and the corners were stacked with crates and forgotten furniture. While exploring, he noticed a small, unmarked, reel-torial tape. No label, no handwriting, just a thin layer of dust and a sticky note that had long faded. Curiosity won over caution.
He brought it upstairs, wiped off the grime, and found an old tape player in the attic. He pressed play.
The first few seconds were silence. Just static crackle, the faint hiss of the old machine warming up. Then a whisper, soft and fierce, like someone talking to themselves. The whisper grew clearer.
It was a conversation. Voices arguing in low tones. What did you do?
One, ask it. Ask it. I had no choice, replied another.
The words were fragmented, but the tone was urgent, panicked.
Fear wasn't hiding in the background, it was the main actor. As he listened, he realized the voices weren't muffled or distorted.
They were unnervingly close, like they were recorded in the same room he was standing in.
Then came the chilling part. The voices began describing details about the house, the basement, the stairs.
The fireplace! Odd details he hadn't even explored yet. And then, names. Specific names. Names of people he knew, family members. Right down to his parents and siblings. Names. Make sure they don't leave.
The first voice hissed. They'll know what happened, the second replied.
Cold sweat ran down his back. None of this made sense.
The family had just moved in.
The tape had been sitting in the basement for who knows how long. No one had memories of recording it. Nobody had even been aware of it.
The tape itself seemed impossible. Then it got worse.
The conversation grew more detailed. Not just names, but actions.
One voice described entering the living room at night, locking doors, hiding a knife.
Another described moving through the kitchen, hiding evidence, cleaning up. All hypothetical.
All. So, Aoped.
But the problem was the specificity. Each detail matched rooms, furniture, and layouts in the house exactly as they were now. Like it was written for this moment. This family. This home. He rewound and played it again, listening for anything he might have missed.
That's when he heard it. A name he didn't recognize. Not anyone in his family. Someone else.
Someone who had died or at least disappeared years ago in another city.
The voice spoke with alarming clarity. He won't remember. Until it's too late.
He froze, heart racing. The tape described a murder.
Not a story. Not a joke. A real, in-progress event. And the victims' names matched his family. He couldn't explain it. He called his parents. Asked if anyone had recorded something in the basement. No. Nobody remembered a tape being there. Nobody had touched it. Even the previous owners claimed ignorance.
Shaken, he tried to destroy the tape. Burn it. Break it. Nothing worked.
The machine kept playing it, rewound itself, and hissed the voices back to life. He stopped trying. Instead, he archived it, hoping that recording it digitally might make it safer somehow. But the voices were clearer on the digital version. Louder, closer.
Whispering in the quiet hours of the night, repeating the names, repeating the events, as if the tape was alive.
He doesn't play it often. Never alone.
But sometimes, late at night, when the house is silent and the wind rattles the windows, he can swear he hears it again, faintly, like someone walking down the basement stairs. Real chills.
Kids don't imagine everything. That's what she told herself the first time her 6-year-old daughter, Emily, ran into the living room, eyes wide, trembling. Mom! There's something under my bed, she screamed, voice breaking. It was late, past bedtime, and she'd just tucked Emily in after a long day.
Exhausted and stressed, she knelt beside her daughter, brushing her hair back gently.
Sweetie, there's nothing under your bed.
You're just imagining things, she said, forcing a smile.
Kids say scary stuff sometimes, she thought. Overactive imagination. Maybe a nightmare. Emily didn't budge. She shook her head violently. No, Mommy. I saw it. It's big, and it's hiding, and it's watching me. Please, please, check. Her little hands gripped the blankets so tightly they turned white. Sighing, the mother tried to calm her. She glanced at the bed, floor clear. Just the usual dust bunnies and a few toys scattered. Okay, let's check, she said reluctantly, crouching down. Nothing. Smooth floor, empty space. See?
Nothing.
All clear. Emily's eyes filled with tears.
But it's still there.
The mother took a deep breath, trying not to panic at the intensity of Emily's fear. She tucked her back in, kissed her forehead, and left the room. Lights on, door cracked. That should be enough. She went back to her own chores, telling herself she was just overreacting. But that night, strange things started happening. First, she heard a soft shuffle from Emily's room. She assumed the child had gotten up again. She went to check. Emily was still in bed, fast asleep. The shuffling stopped the moment she entered. That didn't sit right. Then Emily began describing the entity in detail, unprompted. Mommy, it has long arms, thin, like sticks, but really strong.
And its eyes are yellow.
And it hides whenever I look. She drew a small sketch on paper, hands shaking as she colored the eyes.
The description was vivid and possibly detailed for a
It waits, Emily said quietly, almost whispering. Just under me. Always. Her mother started paying closer attention. Night after night, Emily's fear grew. She didn't just describe the thing, she reacted to it. Foot tapping, whispering, tossing blankets over her head. And then, one evening, the mother finally saw it. She leaned under the bed while Emily slept, curious and terrified at the same time. 2 small hand marks, deep into the dust and scratches on the wooden frame. Not smudges, not random scuffs. Deliberate. Like someone or something had gripped and pulled itself up under the bed. Her stomach dropped. That night, Emily's sobs woke her again. Mommy! Mommy! It's moving! She cried. She peeked under the bed, heart pounding. Nothing visible.
But the feeling of being watched, heavy and suffocating, pressed down on her chest.
Her own hair rose at the back of her neck. From that point on, the mother stopped dismissing her daughter's fears. She started leaving a nightlight on, checking the room herself before bed, and making sure Emily felt safe. Every creak, every shadow, every dust ripple became a serious concern. Eventually, they moved to a new house, hoping the fear would end. Emily still slept uneasily at first.
But even there, she sometimes whispered, it's under the bed, in dreams, eyes wide and trembling.
The mother learned a hard lesson. Children's fears are rarely just imagination. Sometimes they see things adults refuse to believe. And whatever was under that bed, whatever had left those hand marks, was real enough to change the way she slept forever. Always listen to kids. Night shift workers see things others don't. He was no stranger to night shifts. Hospitals, warehouses, and 24-hour stores. He'd worked them all. There was a rhythm to the night, a quiet pulse, Most people never noticed.
But nothing prepared him for the shift at St. Mercy Hospital,
A sprawling old building with hallways that twisted like mazes and elevators that groaned under their own weight.
The fluorescent lights flickered intermittently, humming just above the edge of hearing, making the entire place feel like it was alive in some subtle, wrong way.
The night began like any other.
Empty corridors, the smell of antiseptic, the occasional distant beep of a monitor.
Too quiet, but normal for 3 a.m.
It started innocuously enough.
He was returning from the supply closet on the 3rd floor when he noticed the elevator doors open on the 5th floor. Strange, since that floor was closed for renovations. No one was supposed to be there.
He figured maintenance must have forgotten to lock it. But as he peered inside, the elevator was empty.
The buttons lit up normally. No signs of tampering.
Shrugging, he pressed the down button and continued walking.
Minutes later, the elevator chimed behind him.
Espun Arhund, heart rate spiking, to see the doors opening again.
The interior was empty, but each time a handrail slowly creaked, as if someone had leaned on it moments ago.
He laughed nervously to himself. Old elevators do weird things. Later, while doing rounds on the 4th floor, he heard it. A faint worry sound, followed by the metallic ding of the elevator stopping on a floor that wasn't in service. He froze. The sound was deliberate, not random. No maintenance crews were supposed to be working that night. Curiosity and dread collided.
He approached the elevator cautiously, every step echoing in the empty hallway.
The door slid open, revealing the 5th floor once again supposedly locked and abandoned.
He looked down the corridor. No lights, no movement, just shadows stretching across peeling wallpaper.
Then he heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, distinct, moving toward the elevator doors.
His instincts screamed at him to leave, but his eyes stayed glued to the doorway.
The steps stopped. Silence. Then, the doors behind him slid shut with a soft whoosh.
Heart hammering, he reached for the call button, but it didn't work. No response. The elevator had vanished.
Not physically, but somehow it felt different. That's when he saw it. The elevator doors opened again. This time on the floor, he was standing on the 4th floor. But someone was inside. Not a patient! Not a maintenance worker! Who's the silhouette tall? Featureless, leaning slightly forward, watching him. Before he could react, the elevator doors closed slowly. No noise inside. No signal. Just darkness. He ran down hallways through the main lobby, every shadow now threatening. He tried calling security, but the lines were dead.
The usual night staff were gone, dismissed early, except for him.
The next night, he refused to go near that elevator.
He avoided the 5th floor entirely.
But when he checked the camera feeds in the security room, his blood ran cold. The elevator, supposedly empty, had opened on every floor multiple times. Each time, a shadowy figure appeared for a fraction of a second. Every time, it disappeared before he could react. Weeks later, a colleague whispered in the break room. Night shift. You see things. Things that aren't there in the day. Floors that shouldn't exist. People that can't be. Just don't take the elevator alone. He stopped taking it altogether. Stairs only. Every night, he double-checked every floor, every hallway. But he knew the elevator was still there, waiting, watching. Night shift equals nope. My roommate died, but never moved out. It started as a casual story, he told his friends at first, almost joking about it because nothing else made sense. He had moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment downtown after college, and for the first year, things were normal. His roommate, Mark, was loud, messy, occasionally annoying, but dependable.
Then, one winter evening, Mark died suddenly of a heart attack.
The paramedics took him. The apartment emptied out, and the landlord promised to find a new tenant soon. Life morbid on.
Or at least he thought it had.
At first, the silence was comforting, peaceful. No more Mark's late-night TV, marathons, or the endless clattering of dishes in the sink.
But after a few days, subtle things started happening. He would wake in the middle of the night to hear the faint sound of someone moving in the other room. Not loud enough to be fully awake, but distinct enough to make his blood run cold. Closet doors that he was sure he'd closed were slightly ajar. A faint smell of cigarette smarks brandling art in the air, even though the apartment had been cleaned thoroughly. He convinced himself it was grief playing tricks on him. Maybe he was projecting.
Maybe his mind refused to accept that Mark was gone, but the incidents escalated.
One night, he came home exhausted from work and went straight to bed.
Only to hear the familiar creak of the living room floorboards. This exact rhythm of Mark's late-night pacing. He froze, listening.
The footsteps stopped, as if someone had sensed his attention.
Small, seemingly meaningless things followed. Dishes in the sink were stacked differently than he remembered. His favorite hoodie, the one Mark always left draped over the couch, was folded neatly on the chair when he swore he hadn't touched it. The TV turned on by itself sometimes, flickering with channels Mark never watched. His apartment felt lived in, but there was no one there. The strangest, most unsettling part was the bedroom.
He started noticing the bed. His bed felt warm in the mornings, as though someone had just lain there.
Sheets moved slightly, indented where another body might have rested.
He told himself it was impossible, that he must have kicked around in his sleep, but the sensation was too specific, too deliberate. One night, the scent hit him again. The unmistakable odor of Mark's cologne, heavy and clinging.
It came from the corner of the bedroom where the other bed had been.
The hair on the back of his neck stood up. He wanted to leave, to get out of the apartment entirely, but something anchored him. A strange sense that he wasn't alone, that Mark's presence had lingered intentionally, unwilling to let go. He started sleeping with a nightlight on, keeping doors open, constantly checking the apartment for any sign of life that would explain the anomalies. Nothing. Everything looked normal. Yet the bed was still warm in the mornings. He could still catch glimpses of shadows out of the corner of his eye, fleeting shapes that vanished the moment he focused on them. Friends suggested he move, get counseling, or even confront the haunting with spiritual help.
He tried ignoring it, tried rationalizing it.
But every day, Mark's presence reminded him of his unfinished existence. His apartment, a shrine and a warning, simultaneously. The last straw came when he awoke one morning to find the sheets pressed down on the side opposite him, warm as though someone had lain there moments before. He hadn't heard anything, hadn't felt anyone touch the bed, yet the evidence was clear. That's when he realized it wasn't grief he was feeling. It wasn't loneliness or longing. Mark hadn't moved out. Not really. And he never would. That's not grief, that's haunting. This last story, people couldn't sleep after hearing it. Before I even begin, a warning. This one isn't for the faint of heart. The others we've covered, they're chillin', sure. But this story, this one will get under your skin in ways you won't shake off easily. People who've shared it online say they couldn't sleep for a day.
Some claim it left them paranoid, double-checking doors, windows, even closets in the middle of the night.
This isn't just a ghost story. It's a culmination of every small nightmare you've ever ignored, the kind of tale that feels alive long after you've heard it.
It all started with a small town, somewhere quiet and ordinary, where nothing unusual was supposed to happen.
A young woman,
Let's call her Sarah, had just moved into her grandmother's old house after inheriting it.
the place was charming during the day sunlight streaming through lace curtains. The smell of old wood and polished floors, but at night, it felt different.
Shadows seemed thicker, hallways longer, and the house, well, it watched.
At least, that's what Sarah would later describe. The first signs were small. Objects out of place.
Door slightly ajar, she was sure she'd closed.
Footsteps in
A
the
hole when she lived alone.
the sound of whispering behind the walls. At first, she shrugged them off. Old houses creak. Floors steadily. Imagination runs wild at night.
But when the noises became more specific, more directed, she started to worry. Then came the dreams.
Not nightmares exactly, but vivid, disturbing visions she couldn't shake. Each night, the dreams were the same. She would wander her own house, hearing whispers, feeling invisible hands brush against her, feeding eyes on her back.
She would turn and see nothing until she woke up, only to find objects in her real house moved exactly as they were in her dream.
One evening, as she was unpacking, she found an old, handwritten journal tucked behind a false panel in the living room wall.
The entries were chaotic, scribbled in dark ink. Fragmented sentences.
They told of someone who had lived in the house decades ago. Someone who had slowly lost it.
Their writing spoke of being watched, of whispers, of hands that reached from the shadows. The last page was different. It wasn't scribbled.
It was neat, almost deliberate, and it read, I wait in the places you cannot see. I am where your fear begins. I am patient. Hunger. Sarah laughed nervously at first. Creepy. Yes, but a journal isn't proof of anything. She tossed it in a drawer. That night, however, her bedroom door clicked shut on its own. The lights flickered. She felt a presence at the foot of her bed. She froze. Her heart raced, and then a whisper, name soft, insistent, coming from the shadows. It wasn't a voice she recognized. It wasn't familial. It was something else. Something patient. Something alive. She bolted from the room, checked every door, every window, locked herself in the living room with lights on, shaking, unable to sleep. Over the next week, the activity escalated, footsteps pacing at night, always matching her own movements. Just behind her, objects would appear in rooms she hadn't entered. Mirrors reflected things she swore weren't there. A faint smell of decay lingered in the air at random times, even though the house was clean. And sometimes, late at night, she could hear breathing. Slow, deliberate, measured. Not air. Own. Then came the strangest part. Every night,
Sarah would receive notifications on her phone.
Messages from an unknown number. Blank texts. At first, then words. I see you. You're awake. Don't sleep yet.
The texts weren't random.
They came in precise moments when she would glance at her phone in the dark.
And sometimes the phone would light up with a reflection her own face, staring back butt twisted.
A second pair of eyes, deep black, peering over her shoulder. Sleep deprivation soon became unbearable. She tried leaving the house, staying with friends, even calling a priest, but the disturbances followed her. Dreams merged with reality. Footsteps echoed in hotel rooms. Shadows moved in corners of cafes. The presence was patient, and it was persistent.
The story ends here. There is no final confrontation.
No! Resolution! Sarah stopped posting online after weeks of torment. People who claim to have heard the story in full say that just reading the last entries leaves them restless, unsure if the shadows in their own rooms are real or imagined. Some swear that hearing her story aloud is enough to make doors creak, floors groan, and lights flicker, even in entirely normal houses. So, if you've made it this far, congratulations! You're braver than most. And remember, the next time your lights flicker, or you hear whispers in the dark, or your phone buzzes with a blank message, don't ignore it. Some stories don't end. Some stories follow you home. Subscribe to Horror Hante DI for more true nightmares.